All right.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Green, and I am the founder and CEO of Golden Crest Executive Consulting. And I also work with public charter schools, and right now I'm working with KIPP North Carolina, which is the largest charter public school in North Carolina. So education and health is my passion, and today we're going to be speaking more about mental and physical health and well-being. And my beautiful colleague, Juhi, I like to call her Juhi, but I'm gonna let her give you her government name, and she's gonna introduce herself, and we're gonna talk this out today.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kimberly. My name is Jawahar Alvi. It's a little hard to pronounce, so my mom used to call me Juhi, and that's what I went with. So my government name is Jawahar. It means jewels, and what my hairdresser calls me Jules. So it's easier for her to pronounce. I am a doctorate level board certified behavior analyst and a clinical psychologist. I am the CEO and founder of BASES and Hours, which is Once Upon Rehabilitation Services. I love my names because BASES stands for Behavior and Special Educational Services, and Hours stands for Once Upon Rehabilitation Services. And I have a story to tell, which is born and raised by a single mother in Pakistan. I was married off at 19 and I came to the States with my ex-husband. I was here and I never intended to work. I only was supposed to be a mom. But then, I started working in a daycare where I took care of some little kids. And when those little kids used to come in, I wanted to nurture them. And those kids, they were coming in with these special needs, and there were early intervention services being provided to them. And that's where I was like, ooh, this is what I want to do. I want to work with them. I want to heal them. I just want to be just with them all the time. And that's where I went back to school. And I took admission in the Master of Early Childhood Education. But then the first class I took was in special education, and I just fell in love with it. And, Oprah talked about, there was a book, The Seat of the Soul, and she talks about when something aligns with your soul, that's what aligned with my soul, and I never looked back. So you can see that I have so much passion for special education. So I started working in the field. I worked as a special educator for almost 8 years in a public school with proviso area for exceptional needs. And then after that, I was hit 3 times where I had surgery on my hand. I had 2 concussions. I'm still in the field and I'm rocking it. I never looked back. I love what I do. And I just went back to school and I took admission to be a board certified behavior analyst because I thought I wasn't getting, I'm just loving this conference because everything that you guys spoke, it just sinks into what I have gone through because I didn't have the resources to get that behavioral training to work with the kids as a school teacher. I was a learning behavioral specialist, but hey guys, I was a learning behavioral specialist. I wasn't a behavior specialist. So I was getting hit, I was getting beat down, but I didn't know how to deal with those behaviors. So I went back to school and I got board certification to become a behavior analyst. And that's where I learned how to deal with behaviors. And then I worked in the field. So from 2001 to 2014, I was, trying it on my own. And then I became a BCBA. And then after that, I just thought I need to give back to the community. So I started working remotely in Pakistan, in UAE. Some of my family was over there. My father wanted me, who tried to reunite with me after years, wanted me to build something up in Dubai. So I went over there. I built a clinical setting by the name of Rife USA. Again, I was a woman of color over there. I wasn't an Emirati. I was a woman of color, and I was a woman, in Dubai. So building a clinical setting there wasn't easy. Hearing your stories was so inspirational, just women. And women of color, not only here in Dubai, I had to face the same challenges, and building up a clinical setting was hard. You know, even though I had an American passport, but coming from Pakistan is a stigma. You know, so I had to build up a clinical setting over there, and then don't talk about my mental health. You know, going through all of that, I had to deal with my mental health, my physical health, but I did it, you know, and I was actually nominated for the Sheikh Mahmoud Award for a disability-friendly clinic, but I did it. We had 75 children by the time I left. We were a brand, and we actually moved over to the Kingdom of Bahrain, so we have 2 clinical settings in Dubai and Bahrain, not owned by Meme now, but, you know, we have partners over there. And then I started in Pakistan, and we have 7 clinical settings over there, and we're disseminating over there. But, you know, now that I've gone through all this, you know, I want to bring it back to the table and just think about the mental and the physical health of teachers, of professionals, of, you know, behavior analysts, of psychologists, you know. Where are we? You know, I heard that there are boarding schools, you know, of those people, of all these roles, like, you know, of the women that are out there, of the men that are out there in the field, you know. We all go through something that is called as compassionate fatigue, burnout, secondary trauma, and how do we deal with all of this? So this is what I bring to the table over here. And I want to just, you know, share all my experiences with you. That's about it.
Well, you bring a lot of experience to the table. Can y'all hear me? Is this thing on? Well, I think you bring a lot of experience, and getting to know Juhi, and knowing that, one, she's based out of Chicago, Illinois. Mm-hmm. Hey, Chi-Town. We got Chi-Town in the house. And little known fact is Chicago has one of the largest autism research institute in the nation. I am a huge advocate of autism, ASD spectrum disorders, because I experienced it in my own lifetime, in my own family. And to teach in classrooms and special education, and to understand what these teachers go through each and every day. That compassion burnout, family members who were teachers in my family, I'm older now, but hindsight is always 20/20. I couldn't understand that by the time they got home after school, there was no energy left. And it wasn't until I was in the classrooms and my class size gets bigger, and when you're doing high school, you may have 4 periods or 3 periods, but I have 4 periods and about 40 kids in each class, so I had 160 kids, 160 exams to grade. No teacher, aide, no extra resources, you know. Now I'm sitting on the board of a school system, and I get to advocate for what I know is in those classrooms and for those teachers. And I work with an incredible team of people, and the KIP Foundation is an incredible organization, and it's all about what do these teachers need. It's not just compassion burnout. In addition to compassion burnout, if you have your own children, and most of you do, no matter what age, and let's talk about COVID. Let's think about the COVID situation. For those parents, you're at home with your child, and you had to be teacher all day long, just to your own, 1, 2, 3, or however. Magnify that 6 to 8 hours a day, and that's just classroom work. 60 some odd kids, in addition to dealing with the parents and having little to no resources. That's more than burnout. North Carolina just published statistics for teacher attrition. The nation just published statistics for teacher attrition. It is above 50%. That's scary. The burnout is real. Mental health is not just needed for our students, it's needed for our teachers. And we have to provide those resources. Now, when I speak of the healthcare side, being patient advocate, learning processes and operations, because I used to put together provider networks and medical networks and hospital networks and help them manage that. So you had to know the operations. And you had to know the data to understand the operations. And when you're working with clinicians, that's another set of burnout. And that's why I think teachers should be considered first responders
Right.
too. So one of the things that I'm hoping we have a really great discussion about today, because we've got some awesome educators and healthcare professionals in this room, and we want to hear your ideas and strategies of what we could probably use as best practice or shared practice. And how do we improve mental and physical well-being for our healthcare resources as well as our educational resources? And how do you do it? Because these two roles, they're stuck in one room or one area of their organization. Maybe you're an ER doctor, maybe you're a nurse or whatever, but you're on 10, 12 hours a day. Same thing with a teacher. You're in one classroom and you're on 6, 8 hours a day. So add special education on top of that. And as Juhi was mentioning, now you're adding behavior in addition to your regular job. So for example, you shared a wonderful story about your culture and the diversity that that brings.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other adversity that you had in your life, and you were still able to just create what you did and keep
Right.
going, keep going. One of the questions I want to ask you is, you're going, going, going. You're jumping over hurdles. You're jumping over hurdles, and you're going, going, going. What have you done to put mental and physical well-being in place for yourself and all your employees?
Right. That's a really good question. And actually, I was going to go back to that topic. For me, so when I was reading about compassionate fatigue and burnout, what it said is that once you start having that compassionate fatigue, which is like, suppose if I'm talking to a parent and, you know, she's talking about all the difficulties that she has at home, and then she has to deal with the child and the homework and all that stuff. And then when I go into another situation or I'm at home, you know, and an event happens, it takes me back to that mom, because now I cannot separate my professional life and my personal life because of what I'm going through. So that's called as compassionate fatigue. So in that situation, you know, what I started to realize was it was changing my personality. And this happened to me, actually. It was changing my personality because I was starting to lose my personal self, and I was going more towards that professional, and I was just reliving everything again over. And this is not only for me as I'm called an allied health worker, so, you know, not only for me, but also for teachers and for other people that I work with. So what I started to do is I started to see a therapist and I started to go for counseling. I'm a big believer of God, and I pray 5 times a day. So I get up in the morning, like you said, you give thanks in the morning. I get up at 5 and I pray. And then I do my prayers 5 times a day. Recently with, you know, and unfortunately we do all have to face discrimination, and with, you know, different wars and things going on, you know, it's become a little difficult, you know, like I used to pray in my car. I can't anymore because, you know, people have told me you have to be careful because there are all kinds of, you know, violent crimes happening, especially in Chicago. We've had one. So I have to find me some place where I can pray peacefully. But I pray 5 times a day. That's one of my coping mechanisms. The second thing that I do is I have a counselor and a mentor. And as I was mentioning, Dr. Nasia, she's one of my mentors, so I always talk to her and I take my things back to her. And I have a spiritual mentor too, because you need that, right? So I talk to my spiritual mentor, and he guides me. And then I have my other, professional mentor. I talk to him, and I also have a counselor. Now, looking at my example, and I've also gone through a lot personally in my life. I'm a single mom. I'm raising my daughter. My son is with my ex-husband because, that's his protege. But I raised my daughter, who's my pride, and she's going to graduate from college, so I'm really excited about that. So that, I have all those responsibilities too. Therefore, I do see a counselor on a regular basis. But then, I like to look good too. I get my nails done, I get my hair done, I want to look good. So I take care of myself. And the same I try to do with all of my therapists and all of the people that I lead, because I want to make sure they're okay to serve the exceptional lives. So I have a mentor and a psychologist on board for all of my people back home in Pakistan. They can go, they can talk to the psychologist, they have regular visitations, like they can go and talk it out. And then I used to be a mother hen, mother goose for them. They would come to me and dump all their problems on me, but then that started taking a toll on me. So then what I realized is, I'm a human. So what I did is I got a counselor for them. But till now, the old ones that used to come to me, and it's shocking to see all these girls in Pakistan who are coming from, homes that they're going through domestic abuse and all that stuff, and they come to me and they talk to me, and they're single mothers. I've always, told them, it's okay, you'll be fine, and they're fine. Believe me, they're fine. They're educated and they're fine, and they're taking care of their kids by themselves. So, I did that, but now I have counselors for them. So I have counselors in all of my clinics. Parents and therapists can go to them for counseling. Same here, we also have a gym with a treadmill. Oh. All therapists and all staff can go over there now to do that. I'm slacking down a little bit, but I'll start back. But we all we all have to do that. We have to take care of our physical health and our mental health, and I think that's really important.
Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And you were sharing how self-care is a way of practicing self-love. Mm-hmm. And I know for certain communities in our country here, and specifically the Black community, mental health has always been a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's a stigma for us too.
Yeah, you know what? I want us to share that. So as far as Black Americans here in our country, we've got a long history. A lot of people know our history, and we could talk about it, and we go all the way back from the Atlantic slave ships on over, and we can keep saying 204 years and yada, yada, yada. And we can talk about all kinds of those things that history and society has shaped. But who we are now and what we have available, we still have choices, and our communities still struggle with the choice, and maybe through lack of knowledge, or maybe they're still superstitious or taboo. But the first time I went to a therapist, and I just thought we were just going to sit down and talk about the weather, because I possibly don't have anything wrong with me. Right. 7 years later, like they say on SpongeBob, I am still working with a therapist. And it's been the best thing since duct tape. And I have been working with friends and family, and they've seen so much change in me and the way I do things, and changed the way I show up at work, changed the way I show up in the organizations that I partner and work with. And I want African Americans to know, and I should say Caribbean Americans and all other people of color, there is something to be said. And you can't keep using your girlfriends. They're not your therapists. They're not licensed. They're not professionals. Stop.
That's true.
Stop. They are not clinically trained to help you discover yourself or uncover your blind spots. And the more education and understanding and being able to put it into the schools and offering it as resources for our teachers and our students, I just think it's the beginning to so much healing.
Right.
Tell us, being from Pakistan, being from way over there, first of all, since they stopped putting geography and stuff like that in our schools, much to our chagrin, help us understand, and for all our live audience, where is Pakistan? Tell us a little bit about Pakistan, tell us a little bit about your culture, and why is it a stigma with your culture as well?
Girl, don't even get me started.
See, she said girl. Look at that. See, we women, I don't care what country we're from, when we say girl, ain't that universal? As girl, tell.
All right. Well, Pakistan is Southeast Asia. It is right by India, so it's a small, portion. We split off in 1947. And in Pakistan, let me start here. The first time I went for counseling, we were married 22 years, me and my ex-husband. It was an arranged marriage, and the first time I went to counseling, we were still married. And he said, then there's nothing wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Why are you going for counseling? And I went to see my counselor, and when I sat with my counselor, oh, he was so good. He listened to my story, 2 sessions. He said, there's nothing wrong with you. You've just had enough with your husband. Girl, you need to move on. I loved him. Okay.
Yes.
So therapy was, if you go for therapy, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. Just walk it off. That's what used to happen. But now, with the passage of time, and I want to tell you one thing. We're the worst patients. Clinical psychologists are the worst patients. My therapist pulls her hair out with me. I never keep my appointments.
Because you're so busy.
No, and I keep on telling her, I'll do this, I'll be fine. She's like, you got to come to me, and then you'll be fine. So, yeah, I love her. She's such a great person and so forgiving.
She holds you accountable. That's what that is.
She's amazing. She reschedules me all the time, but I love her. It used to be harder. But, even other places, like, if you go to the suburbs and, outskirts. I'm from Islamabad, so I'm the capital city, so it's a little bit more tolerable over there. But the outskirts, therapy is not that well taken because it feels like a stigma. Ladki pagal ho gayi hai. That's what they say in Urdu. She's gone crazy. She doesn't need to go to just take her to the Maulvi, who's the spirit, like a priest, and he'll just do some prayers. Exercise. She'll be okay.
Same thing with
Go pray,
with the
you'll
black
be
church.
fine,
Just pray it out of you, girl. Pray it out.
Yeah, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I think we're changing. I'm changing a lot of things over there, too. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, if you're working for a company that has benefits and they have EAP, a lot of times we don't look into all the different things that come with our benefits. Even your 2 or 3 sessions that's supposed to be free, it's a way of trying it. And I think that's one way that we can bring it to our organizational staff members and all the leadership and everybody that makes up an organization, is to make them aware. One thing I would have to say is when I worked with CVS Health, huge, huge health company, they were really big on sending us emails like, you got EAP. And, at first you'd be thinking, what you trying to say, I'm crazy? No, but what they were saying is because, I'm in data analytics and stuff, they have enough data to know how many of their employees are using what parts of their benefits and what benefits are being most used and least used. And basically what they were saying is you're leaving money on the table. This is free money and free resources. So again, it comes to awareness and it comes to education. And there are some educators in this room, and I like to know from an audience perspective, that means we got to cue the mic. I like to know from an audience perspective, what do you offer? Okay. What do you offer in your organizations to promote mental and physical well-being?
For
There you go.
for my clients, I refer them to therapists. If I'm not a licensed clinical social worker or therapist at all, but there are some traits sometimes that I notice, and I won't take on that client necessarily. I would refer them to therapy, because when you're coaching and your client is in therapy, it really complements, it complements their progress. For instance, I asked a therapist, how does someone who is codependent, for instance, how does that show up in their work? And she gave me an example. In their work, it's, I can do it by myself. No, I don't need help. And they'll take on more projects. No, it's okay, I got it. And that can be detrimental to someone's career. So I have a list of therapists, depending on the area, that I would refer our clients to, and I recommend it. And if I really feel that that client needs therapy, because sometimes clients will take the coaching as therapy, but that's
Yes.
not therapy,
Right.
it's coaching. And I make that very clear. I'll refer them to the therapy, and then maybe later down the line we can continue on the path of coaching.
Thank you for sharing that.
So I work at a mental health nonprofit affiliated Sante Group. We're the largest crisis provider in the state of Maryland. And some things that we are doing, like we have the Calm app, so we have that service where it has a multitude of different things that our employees can access in terms of, even if it's just suggestions, they'll tell you, you spend this amount of hours on work time. You spend this amount of hours in meetings, or it'll give suggestions. You could take these 3-minute meditation sequences. It'll give suggestions. So we definitely have that service for all of the employees. Some things that we're trying to do culturally is we're going to implement the use of a wellness room. So setting aside that we cannot control the amount of work that comes our way sometimes. It just kind of is what it is. But what we can do is try to decrease the burnout amongst the staff. So giving them a dedicated space that they can just kind of go in and know that without consequence, they can take a 15-minute period, whether it's reading a book of their choice, listening to meditation music, reading a magazine, or just getting some quiet time where they don't have to worry about somebody interrupting that to give them something else, one more thing on their plate, a safe space for that. That's something else that we've been trying to do, and really just kind of implementing the fact that we have all these licensed practitioners. We're a mental health organization, and letting people know open door policy, that you can come in, you can talk to us, and realizing and letting them know that we recognize that support is a part of supervision.
I like that. We got a question over here, and that could be the last question, because I think we're getting close to time.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea that you mentioned there, because learning Juhi's story and working here at Heal Conference with people globally, a room like that can be offered
Right.
for someone who, in their religious practice, they need somewhere to go and pray 5
Right.
times a day and do the thing. Good idea. Because if we just ask the question of our employees, what do you need? Maybe Juhi or someone like Juhi would be like, I just need a room to go pray.
Yeah, hi everyone. I just wanted to have some quick insight into this. So for my organization, Palestinian Public Health, this is something that a lot of Palestinian students, colleagues, community members have consistently on a daily basis as Palestinians we suffer from, is that even if you seek professional help from a therapist, most likely that therapist is not going to understand your struggles as a Palestinian.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to understand when you tell them that your people have been suffering from oppression and occupation for over 70 years. And of course, this is a generalization. Maybe you're lucky enough to find someone from the same background or someone who, is educated and knows about this. But it makes so much more of a difference when you have a Palestinian therapist who can validate, even if she doesn't know what to say, she can say, I see you, and your struggle is valid, and you exist. That in itself has been a struggle for me since I was middle school, elementary school.
Right.
So when I founded Palestinian Public Health, mental health was such a priority, and we did the first ever Palestinian Healing Circle. And of course, I stepped into it as an organizer, and I did it just for students who looked like me to have the space. But the therapist, they were both Palestinian, and their like organization was run by Palestinians. She was like, step out of your organizer role. This is for you as well.
Right.
And it was my first time in my life that somebody said, yeah, like this is valid. What you experience in the classroom when you have to advocate for the fact that Palestinian health matters, that is valid. The fact that I didn't realize that having to tell people about our struggles in a classroom setting was a lot on one person, like that made such a difference. So I hope that we can work towards a future where everybody is seen and, you know, those resources are there, because it makes a big difference.
And they need to be validated. Because my first therapist said, you know, yeah, you've had enough. But now my second therapist understands and she validates everything, you know, and that cultural competencies are very important. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's very, very insightful. One more. Did you have a question? Or no, you were clapping. Okay, see, cue the clap. I like that. Cue the clap.
You know you did a good job, so say you did a good job. You know you did a good job, so say you did a good job. You did a good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
I would
Feel
like
free
mine
to-
in Spanish. Muy bien.
Muy bien. You can welcome to stay on stage because you're continuing with the fireside chat.
I can
Yeah. Real quick, we want to offer a really quick presentation, a recognition award for one of our participants who will be leaving, one of our family members really, will be leaving early. So if you can join me in celebrating